very honoured to be here. Lots of people I know, and that's really scary. Actually, before I start, I'd like to just play a trailer for something that we made.
Message from Premier Mexico.
Something's coming. And whatever it is, I'm pretty sure that there'll be 3 of it.
Since the dawn of time, my sisters and I have controlled the fate of all mankind. We are the 3 fates, and we've kept the gods amused for thousands of years.
I've been expecting something.
Hi, Morgan!
Turns out, they're here.
It's dangerous for the rubber to get torn or pierced because somebody could get pregnant.
Thank you.
It's what humans call a hangover.
Well, either that or I finally lost it.
Okay. You can see that date goes back some time. So that was our kind of first foray into, thank you, into online, basically, for creating content. The company I manage is called iFilm and Television. iFilm and Television has been around for a very long time. Frank, who set it up, many of you will know here, did so in 1973, so it's a 40th anniversary next year. And pretty much I joined the company at the end of the 90s, and from that time until about 2008, 2009, we were doing quite a lot of television. We did probably over 100 hours of television, a lot of stuff that we did locally here with Anglia Television in Norwich. We also did a lot of children's programming. We did that was drama and both documentary. And we had a really good time, and we really enjoyed it. And every year it seemed to be we were developing new sides of things and new content that we were trying to do. We were still always trying to break into, I suppose, the bigger London market, or at least to get in there so that the the channels in London would commission us more regularly. The only ones that we felt that we had a real relationship was probably Channel 5 Children's and ITV locally. But come around 2008, 2009, things got a lot more complicated in terms of commissioning children's programming. Lost much of their funding through cutbacks that were there through junk food advertising was taken away. A lot of the other work that we were doing, which was in the public sector, disappeared because there was a recession. And we suddenly found that we had to find a new way of doing things. And so we were always interested in online, and we were developing a feature film at the same time as we were doing this online project. And we actually came up with this idea for Tempting Fates, which had been around as a feature film 10 years before. At this stage, there was still Screen East locally here as well. So we took the idea to Screen East to actually get Tempting Fates funded. And we got that. We got a small finance backer as well. And it was pretty small fry, but at the same time as this was happening, it was a time when there was Sophia's Diary. There were a number of other online dramas that were actually going on at the same time. And everyone was just saying, you've got to make drama at 5 minutes in length, and you've got to do episodes, and there's one every day, and that's all style, and that's the way you've got to do it. And so we believed them. So we said, okay, well, let's turn these sort of like film into 4 1-hours, but we'll actually do it in 5-minute episodes. So we created, we changed the format, worked on the scripts, the ideas, and created effectively 45-minute episodes, which were actually filmed all across the summer at City College in Norwich. We actually did all of the cast came up and stayed on campus in the rooms that they subsequently condemned and knocked down later on. we did all the casting online using Facebook and YouTube. And then we had a production team which mainly consisted of 12 graduate students, and we mentored them and worked with them to actually create the content that we were doing. And whilst we were doing this, we didn't do it completely pie in the sky, so, we'll just make this and we'll put it on YouTube and it'll all work and everyone will come and watch it. Because we thought we had a distribution partner, and we had two distribution partners. One was this company which was Little House TV. And I don't know whether many of you know, but actually the universities around the UK are actually all connected up by fibre cable. And there was this new TV channel that was going to go into every student's room, and they were all going to be able to watch it, and they wanted content, and this seemed to be an ideal. So they were part of our partners when we were actually pitching it to actually do it. I still, to this day, do not know whether that's happened. I still don't know whether the students have actually seen it, or actually it was played much. I actually came across this website, Little House, when I put in Tempting Fates on Google recently, just to see what was there, and so it does show that the episodes are still out there. And our distribution partner was Digital Rights Group, which is a traditional, very big distributor, and part of the way through of us producing it and finishing it off, we suddenly found that they stopped answering our phone calls, and then they stopped responding to emails, and then they seemed to hide from us until I went down and went to their office and knocked on the door and sort of said, I need to talk to you. And it just seemed that the whole bottom had fallen out of the online idea of actually being able to sell online content, and the idea that sort of 5-minute episodes, everyone wanted them. There had been, because there were a few that did Lonely Girl, and because of Sophia's Diary, there were a number of ones that did actually get quite a lot of interest at the time. So it left us basically with this content and nowhere for it to be seen, or we didn't know how to get it out there. So that was the sort of like 2010, and then we decided that we'd just put it out on YouTube, and we would create its own WordPress website, and we would do a bit of splash about it, and we'd get involved with other students around the country, and we did that, and it went out there, and it was some positive feedback, actually probably worse than not having positive feedback or even having negative feedback was the fact there wasn't much feedback. When we actually got to show it to people and people actually stuck with the episodes, they found them quite fun. But actually one of the things I actually learned, which I don't think we would have got the funding if I'd done it this model, but actually what would have been so much better if I'd gone out there and decided I was going to make a feature film, which is what I really wanted to do in the first place, worked in the same way, and actually we'd written and designed it and made it in the way that it was meant to be a feature film. So I'm showing it not because I think this is a disaster. I just think it's something that I really wanted to say. This was kind of our first foray into it. We were looking at what we were trying to do. I'm actually really disappointed more people didn't see it, and what it has actually led to is this idea that you can work with students on live projects and actually create content, which is now what we're doing with City College as well on another project that's going on, and Lorraine's here, and you can meet Lorraine over there, who'll explain all about that at some point. So, but it did also make me sort of think, okay, a couple of things. What did I learn from it, apart from the fact that I was a bit bitter by the end of it, that if you build it, they won't come necessarily unless you can actually do it. You need to spend as much on the marketing and getting it out there and making sure people are aware of it. The idea that sort of you can do viral marketing is brilliant if you can do it and you can get people actually getting involved with it. And since it's been on YouTube, it seems to have picked up quite a lot of interest in Russia. I'm not quite sure why, but supposedly it's used to help them teach language. I believe someone's actually using it as part of that process, and they've been getting it. So with the number of hits have gone up quite a lot recently in it. It's not generating us any income, and not paying back one of our investors who's a family member yet, which I hope one day I might. But we did actually have a really good experience in the production side of it, and when we came to the end of it, and there were lots of people that sort of got involved, and we were given amazing access with City College, and we used Epic Studios that we were filming down there as well. The cast we thought were really good, and I'm just disappointed for them as much as I am for ourselves that it didn't go any further, but we had to move on and sort of say, okay, that's not worked exactly as we wanted to. What are we going to learn from it, and what are we going to do next? We actually sort of didn't really touch TV or even look at TV too much for quite some period of time, until this year we did a project which actually isn't anything to do with TV, really, let's face it. I need to start at the beginning here. Is the other project I want to talk to you about, which is John Peel's record collection. Fortunately, when John was alive, we actually worked with John on a project for Anglia TV, which was called Going Home, and we made these episodes of John, and John was the narrator for it, and it took people back to their first house. It was before Who Do You Think You Are came out. Brilliant idea. Well, we should have done Who Do You Think You Are, but we didn't do that either. So we did get opportunity to work with John. He worked on all three series, as in he was the narrator for all three series, but we also took him back to his first house. And we became friends with him and Sheila, his wife, and were at his 65th birthday party a few weeks before he died, which was really upsetting, and like lots of other people, fans of John, were really gutted. I guess it was 7 years later, pretty much, last March, not this March, the actual, it was the March before, April before, Sheila, John's wife, got in touch with us to say that she was involved with the John Peel Centre for Creative Arts, which is in Stowmarket, and she wanted to, they were setting up at the moment, it's the Corn Exchange in Stowmarket, if anyone knows that. It's not very big, it's about, takes about 250 people or so, but they were developing it, and very much in John's ethos. She'd agreed to lend their name to it, and not only that, they kind of co-opted her onto the board, and so she's involved with that. And they wanted to sort of like create a little bit of video content and documentary around it, and could we help? So we went down and had a chat with her and said, you know what, we'd love to do something around John. We're in for it for the long term if you'd like to. And she said, well, 2014 is the 10th anniversary of his death. Is that kind of how long you're? And I said, yeah, definitely, we'd really like to do some stuff. So we started developing some ideas, and we talked about documentaries. We were given access to his home movie footage, which was quite incredible. And then in December of last year, we just came across The Space. Are people familiar with The Space? The Arts Council's project, The Space? Is anyone? Yes? No? No? Okay. Let me open a website, if I can do that. For anyone who's interested in arts-based projects, this is the future of commissioning. Basically, that's how the Arts Council see it. For most of their the arts organisations, and they want them to partner up with people, or to actually get their own, to actually form relationships with production companies, with digital companies, and they want them to actually get to work together. And this is what they've created. This is stage one. There are several sort of stages for them to actually go through, but they, back in December last year, they put a call out, and they wanted arts organisations to pitch in ideas of what they might do and put on the space. We actually only heard about it the day before the deadline, and I looked at it, and they said they were looking about things about archive, and they were interested in sort of ways of production companies working together. And so I contacted with Sheila and Tom Barker, who's the head of the John Peel Centre for Creative Arts, and said, John Peel's record collection. We'd talked about this. People had looked about how could we put John Peel's record collection online. The music clearance is an absolute nightmare. We can never do it. Let's not touch it. Let's not go there. And we said, well, hang on a second. Actually, let's forget about music clearance. Why don't we actually just start with the collection? The collection itself is so amazing. It's so eclectic, and it's so big that surely it deserves to sort of, people will be interested in finding out more about it. So we pitched the idea in, and cut a long story short, it went from 700 applications down to, I think there were 100 and something, and then the 53 applications were selected. And ours was one of the ones with the John Peel Centre was collected to actually produce stuff. So what we pitched to the space was for 26 weeks, starting on May the 1st this year, we would produce, we would unveil the first 100 albums in John's collection in his LPs from A to Z. So on May the 1st, it would be the first 100 A's. On May the 8th, it would be the first 100 B's, and so on. And we've been doing that since May the 1st. We're now up to V, basically, which is on the site, which went live this Tuesday. And for every letter of the alphabet, there's content created around the actual collection itself. So if I now go back to John Peel's collection, and I I have no idea how long I've spoken for at the moment. So was designed. It was designed with a company based here in Norwich. I don't know whether anyone from Click is here at the moment, but it was James Leeds who did the design with us. And we wanted to feel, it was what we pitched or proposed was an online museum, basically, to John. This is actually his record studio. This is his studio where he actually would do his show on Radio 1 on Thursday nights. It's actually as it looks today. It's not apart from the few obvious things that we've added into it. And it's been left very much as it was when it's like he stepped out of the room, really. So we took a photograph of that, and this is kind of the landing page when you come to the site. And on the site itself, you get video and TV, you get links to Peel sessions, you get some photos, you get some radios, and then you get the collection itself. Actually, I realise I've jumped into this before. I'd like to play you a little clip from the introduction to the whole thing by Sheila, John's wife. If you could play that, please, Richie.
John's record collection is one of the most important record collections in the world, and the Space Project is actually allowing people to just have a small insight into what's there.
But the best of them, the ones that I regarded as being the best, like the Beefheart records or those by Little Feat and bands like that, still sound terrific, or Ry Cooder's records still sound good. But then other things which I used to play, I just think, that is awful. Most of them now, the funny thing is that if you listen to Radio 2 at all, a lot of them are cropping up on there late at night, most weird.
Obviously, he's collected records all his life. I got involved when I first met him in '68. I know there's over 26,000 albums. No idea how many singles there are, or CDs. We started cataloguing them and putting them onto file cards in about, I would think, '69. They're bog standard little file cards, and John hand typed them on his old Olivetti typewriter. So they're all little file cards, and they are done alphabetically, but the albums are stored numerically, so they cross-reference. Each week, we're choosing the first 100 of each letter of the alphabet and giving some information, what's there, what John particularly starred, what were his favourite tracks, and also within each letter, there'll be one artist that we will choose that we will particularly feature, and hopefully people are going to really enjoy having a little bit of John's collection.
So that's what we pitched, that's we produced, and we are still producing to date, although we're nearly finished with what we've actually been doing now. On day one, on May the 1st, there were 112,000 people visited the website. I think the Space actually had their own stats for the day, and they reckon 110,000 visited their site in total. So as everyone came through to John Peel's site, I don't quite understand how that's happened. But since we've started the project, there have been over 500,000 unique users or unique visits to the site. We've had a very high percentage, well, I say high percentage, I think we've got over 80,000 have come from America. We've had over 70 different newspaper articles written about it. We've had radio interviews. It's been on every national newspaper in the country. And it is something that I think does, well, I don't know what everyone sort of else thinks about it, but we're really proud to be associated with it. We really think that there's a lot there, and to be honest, we feel we're only scratching the surface about what we're trying to do at the moment. We're currently developing a feature documentary about it. We're looking at what happens next, because at the end of October we'll finish this stage of it, and we've actually only revealed the first 1/10 of the LPs that are actually there. There are 40,000 singles that have not even been looked at the moment. There are letters that we've discovered from John Lennon, from Freddie Mercury, from other things that are there, because John actually kept them within the sleeves and stuff that's there. And actually what's really interesting is all the interviews we've been doing with the artists, because we do a different artist which has been chosen by the family, is no matter who they were, actually they were all listening to John's show. So actually his show, although he played and he was at the forefront of actually revealing or actually playing a lot of the music. The artists who were breaking the next lot of music were listening to his show in the first place, and his actual record collection helps, I think, almost chart the history of music for about 40 years. It is absolutely staggering what is there. And so I guess looking between the two projects, and I'm conscious of how much time I'm probably running up onto my time. Yes, okay, getting nods. Is that they're so different in what we tried to do. One's drama, one's sort of a project that's about someone who's very well known. We had a huge advantage by working with John's family and actually choosing someone that was so well known that when it actually went live, the fact that the Arts Council didn't actually push our project forward as one of the projects because they're worried that all the other projects will be getting forgotten about. And actually, in the end, all the journalists wanted to come and talk and find out about this particular project. We've had amazing feedback from people who have been there. Probably the one that's worked best for the family is the fact that people have actually tweeted and sort of said, I never thought I'd find music through John Peel again, and I am now. Which is exactly the kind of thing that that Sheila and the rest of the family are really pleased about. So this is our next stage. This is our next stage of looking at how things get commissioned, how we actually create content. It's not that we don't want to make television in the traditional sense, and we do want to still create programs, but actually we're always looking at ways of which we can tell different stories, and actually it may be that the actual video side of it is only part of actually the bigger picture of what we're trying to do, and this is a perfect project to actually show that. So I think I probably had more than my allotted time, but thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'd be very happy to answer questions if I'm allowed to, but I'm not sure whether that's okay and whether anyone's got any questions.
I think we'll keep questions for the pork scratching time.
Okay, we'll leave it for pork scratching. So thank you very much.